Okay guys, so welcome to today's video. I'm at Starbucks. I'm just about to edit the video. This video is a rehab session. It focuses mainly on core strength, hip strength, glute strength, hamstring strength, everything around the muscles that are going to support your training. If you start to include a program like this, you can essentially train a little bit more, train at a higher intensity, and it will reduce the injury risk massively. I'm a 209 marathon runner. As I've started my journey getting back into training for those Paris Olympics, it's got about 2-3 weeks into the training and I can already feel the same little injury problems start to come back. Right hip, right lower back, and that's why I'm back in the gym doing this kind of session 2 to 3 times a week and building the body's robustness. Get a program like this in place, start to think about, where does my body break down? Do I need to add different exercises to my program? Follow the advice, stick to the techniques, and this will really help your training and cut down some of those nagging injuries that's stopping you from training consistently and reaching your best. Okay guys, so welcome to this gym stroke rehab routine. This is all about your trunk stability, your core, your hips, your glutes, but it goes through calves, hamstrings, everything that you're going to work in that lower chain. But this routine is all about injury prevention and trying to keep the body a little bit stronger in the areas that are going to support not getting injured. The routine starts with some foam rolling. Personally, I'm working on the areas that I've been feeling lately, and so that's back, little bit of hamstrings, but get into the gym. This can act as a little bit of a warm-up routine, but it's also just working on some of those areas that perhaps you've been feeling lately. So the first exercise is a glute bridge. Notice that I tucked the pelvis under just before I started that glute bridge. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you can't put your hands underneath your lower back. So get yourself down on the mat, basically tuck your pelvis, you try to rotate your pelvis front and back, and like I'm doing right now. And then once you've got it in a good position, try to slip your hand under your lower back. And if you've done it right, you won't be able to put your hand under your lower back. So this is now like, it's not an advanced glute bridge, but now we've moved to single leg. You only ever go to single leg if you can still hold the good position with your pelvis. This is really important because if you start teaching your body basically bad pelvis control, when you're out there running, you're not going to be running in a good position. So always tuck that pelvis, get it in a nice position, and then basically bring your body up, but only bring your body, as in your glutes and your hips, up towards the sky. Only bring them up as far as you can go while keeping that neutral and nice tucked pelvis position. The minute that you lose that pelvis position, you have to stop. And I don't mean stop and go back down, just you're not trying to push those hips to the ceiling if you can't hold that good pelvis position. And that'll be linked to glute strength, but also flexibility in the hip flexors, etc., etc. Okay, so this is slightly different. So we've got the good pelvis position again, but now we're doing hamstring walkouts. And so you prep as if you're about to do your glute bridge. You know, your legs shoulder width apart, tuck the pelvis. I actually think you can see that I've lost my pelvis position here. So there's a little bit of arch in my back. So get the pelvis tucked up into your glute bridge and then gradually on your heels, walk the legs out. This is amazing for the hamstrings, really, really good, works them really well, but only walk out as far as you're able. If it gets really sore and you get really tired, don't go out further. Okay, so this glute bridge is slightly different. This glute bridge, I've brought my heel closer to my bum, basically. I've got that nice pelvis position that I can put my hands underneath, but this time I'm only bringing the glutes up enough just before I feel that I might lose that pelvic control. So you can see that my hips and glutes, they're not up towards the ceiling, they're not super high, but they're just enough that I can then get in that good position. This is a little bit of abs, and so these are called dead bugs. and your opposite arm, well, I think am I opposite arm, opposite leg? No, I'm same arm, same leg, but you're supposed to be opposite arm, opposite leg. And again, it's all about that good. If you do this exercise and you're not in that good sort of like pelvic position, it won't even be that hard. This next one, this is opposite arm, opposite leg, and you've got the body in that good pelvic position, and then you're pushing with your opposite arm on your opposite knee, and this is actually really tough. It doesn't look super tough, but this works you. I was working, my body was shaking. Brilliant for getting the hip flexors working a bit, the psoas working a bit, but also the core. What you're also teaching the body to do is work in sync, and that's so important. And so this is me showing you a different angle of the hamstring walkouts. And so as you can see, get that body position up, pelvic control in a nice place, slowly walk the hamstrings out. Okay, now we're on to what's called crab walks, and so get your TheraBand, put it around your ankles, and what I'm doing here is I'm up on my toes while keeping basically my height as tall as I can possibly be, up on my toes, and this resistance band adds that little bit of resistance, which then gets your glutes firing. So now we're making like a C, little C's, and again we're walking along. This is the band work is all about glute activation, so it will act as a means to strengthen the glutes, but it's also teaching them to fire. And most people have, even if you do have strong glutes, most people's glutes don't do a great job of firing, as in they're not activating, they're not working. So you're carrying a big strong bum and it's not even helping you. And so this is really good for, like I said, glute activation. When you're walking backwards, you're still trying to do a little bit of a C, but it's just backwards. When you're working with a resistance band, it doesn't, forgive me, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You can be adventurous with this. You just work your glutes in different ways, different directions, and it just creates different stimulus to the glute muscles to get them firing and get them activated. Okay, I love this exercise. This is amazing for the psoas. A lot of people get psoas problems, and that links to breathing problems because it's connected to the diaphragm. But you've got the resistance band. It's around your feet rather than your ankles, and you're trying to keep a really neutral spine, so tuck that pelvis under again, and then you're bringing the knee up towards the sky. So resistance band around the feet, knee up towards the sky. Make sure the pelvis is nice and tucked, body up nice and tall, knee to the sky, and hold that position. It's actually surprisingly difficult, and so that's where you're getting strength in hip flexors, glutes, and all through the psoas, which will stop it giving you problems specifically around the hip flexors when you're running. Now we're moving into some single leg squats. And so nothing complicated here. Try to keep the knee pointing outwards. Don't let the knee cave in. I don't go down that far, kind of because I'm not great at these, but also because when you're running, you don't go, your arch doesn't go to the floor. When you're running, it's more of a quarter squat. But these are really good for stability, balance, and a bit of strength as well. So a bit of activation, bit of balance, bit of strength. Try to keep good control around the pelvis. Try to keep your balance and get some of that weight going through the heel. Okay, so this is another band exercise. And so what you're doing is the band is around your knees. Keep your body up nice and tall, pelvis tucked. Keep your body up nice and tall. Keep that pelvis tucked, and you're bringing the knee to the sky. And you'll feel this in your hips, in your glutes. You can also go in kind of different directions. So you can be pushing the knee forwards and up, and then obviously backwards and up. And you'll feel it all around the hips and all around the glutes. If you're doing it right, you're really gonna feel this exercise. But again, we're bringing in a bit of a stability. Make sure your core is nice and engaged. Feel those abs, get them tensed, get that pelvis tucked, keep it tucked, and start to work the glutes. When you're running, you need a lot of muscles to work in sync. So it doesn't matter if your muscles are super strong, you need them to work together. Okay, so some calf raises, nothing crazy here. I'm supporting my body with the bar above me so that my balance is better. But this is some single leg calf raises. Like I said, nothing crazy. I did notice that one side was a lot stronger than the other. I found it a lot easier to balance on one side. I also found that I could get a lot higher in the calf raise. And so on the right side, there's a little bit of a, almost like a jerk motion, but on the left side, it was much smoother. Some double leg calf raises. So I start with the double leg calf raises, then I move on to single leg calf raises, but just see how you go. You don't have to go until you're max, you don't have to go until you're knackered. When you're doing a rehab program for gym, it's all about consistency. You're not trying to beat the body up, you're not trying to break it down massively, you're just trying to consistently get stronger over a period of time. This is the single leg, so you can see that left side much better control than the right side. Okay, these are absolutely amazing. I get a lot of hip problems, a lot of trunk problems. And so what you're doing is you're balancing on the right side, you're letting that left leg hang down lower than the box, and then you're hitching at the hip on the side that you're, okay, so my left foot's on the box, you're hitching and you're using that left hip to bring the right hip and the right pelvis up above baseline. And it really works that muscle. So if you get problems on those side of your hips, which I think every runner in the world does, do this exercise. It is fantastic. So you're hinging at the hip, you're bringing the pelvis up above and then lowering it down. Up above, lowering it down. Absolutely amazing, great for balance, but it also really starts to work that hip muscle that perhaps might be holding you back a bit, and maybe you're getting injuries, maybe you're getting tightnesses, and this is going to really add to your program. Okay, now we're doing some calf walks, and we're walking along, we're up on our toes, we're not letting our toes drop down, and this is brilliant for a bit of activation. It's not massively like the running technique, but this is kind of where you land. And if you're working your calf muscles in a good way, this is the first part of your body that's coming into contact with the ground when you're running. And it's super important that you've got good calves, or if they don't take the load well, i.e. every time you land, bang, your foot hits the ground, calves are working. If they're not strong, it puts a lot more load through the rest of your body. This calf walk is slightly different. As you can see, I'm doing like active toe plants, active toe plant, active toe plant, and it just breaks the stimulus up and sort of hits the muscle in a different way, breaks the muscle down in a different way. Okay, now we've moved on to some plank. The plank is, fairly normal. Most people know what a plank is, but I'm showing you a couple of different variations you can do here. Keep that neutral spine position and you can lift the legs. Then you move to side plank. Again, if you're getting hip problems, it could be that your side abs aren't very strong. And so this time we're combining plank, side abs, and hip because we're bringing that leg up, we're working that hip. Now we've moved on to the other side. Now you can actually see on my right side, the part of my back that I've been getting problems on. You can see how it's like lumped out at the minute. It's really tight. And so I need to strengthen up that side, that right side. And again, we're showing a couple of dips here. That's like a side plank with dips. And then, now we've got some like adductor raises, hip raises. But it's very good. Okay, so again, more abs. This is like a little core routine that I just go through at the end. I've just got the kettlebell here. Try to keep your spine in that good position. Don't let the lower back arch, or that's when you get problems. Now we're doing some rowing. And at the end, I tend to just pick 5 to 8 ab exercises. And I do like 3 sets of 30 seconds, for example. And I'm just trying to hit the abs in different ways. I think the more variation you have within your like core routine, the better. This absolutely kills me. So we're on the Swiss ball. We're trying to keep that good neutral spine position. And then if you can and if you're able, you can push the Swiss ball out with your elbows, and that gets like a really good firing on the ab muscles. It really, really hurts them. So next exercise, grab that Swiss ball with your feet, bring it up, get the spine where it's supposed to be so the lower back isn't coming up off the mat, and then do little ab crunches. This really hurts, but it's really good. It is surprising how weak most of our core actually is. I know that my core doesn't look weak, but believe me, it's weak. Alright, so I've moved on. I get problems with my adductors, and so this is like a side plank, but we're also balancing on this little raised platform, and that's working my adductors really well. If you're new to doing adductor stuff, use your knee. Okay, so balance on your knee. Don't go straight to your foot or you'll end up really upsetting your adductor. So try to keep your body in a nice straight position. As what I mean by that is like you don't want to be shaped like a banana. You want to be nice and straight. So now I'm showing you basically this is a raised hamstring hold, and so the lever is longer. As you can see, my heel isn't as close to my bum as it was earlier for the glute bridges, and so now we're working more hamstrings than we are glutes. I hold for about 5 to 8 seconds. I hopefully feel a little bit of a burn, and then I swap legs. If you cannot hold a straight spine, which it doesn't look like I am, I kind of straight, maybe in this one I'm quite straight. What I mean by that is you want that hip to be upward. You don't want that hip to have dropped, which creates a little dip in your pelvis. And so if you can hold, then it's okay to swap legs while you're upwards, but if not, you might need to reset the spine.
Okay guys, so thanks so much for watching. I hope you like that. If you like this style of video, comment below, like, subscribe, do that kind of thing. Start to include this kind of a session in your program 2 to 3 times a week. You can tailor some of the exercises so that they work for perhaps the parts of your body that when you're training, they start to get tired, they start to get sore. You're overworking muscles that aren't strong enough to handle what you're trying to do. So change some of those exercises, add some exercises if you need to, but be consistent with this stuff. You don't have to knock it out of the park, just find consistency. If you like this, go to joggingroom.com. There's 12 hours of tips and tutorials, 60 lectures, warm-up routines, activation routines, gym stuff, strength stuff, foam rolling, recovery stuff, nutrition stuff, psychology stuff, how to set goals, everything you could possibly imagine. Go have a look. There's heaps of free stuff. And take care, but do add this to your program. Rehab gym is so important.